Yo, what is up, TBU fans, and welcome to the Power Rankings number 2 after week 1. We're here with your two analysts, being myself, Schady, and my buddy Shroomraver. Say hello.
Hello everyone, Shroomraver here, and yeah, today, as Charlie has said, the second power rankings. For the first time, we are going to actually have some games to draw on, seeing how people are doing, and now we can really start looking at where they're moving in these rankings.
Indeed.
As Shardy dies a little bit of coughing.
That happens occasionally, that I die.
Mhm.
People die while recording. It happens. So yeah, we based this on the play of the games and how the people played, prepared, as well as still the drafts. They're still part of it. You know, if you have a
Yeah.
powerful team, you're not going to move down to 12th place after week 1 just because you lost. And also, a loss does not automatically mean that you go to the bottom, and a win does not mean you're above everyone else who lost.
Yeah.
This is not a league table. This is just opinions on how well you played, how well whatever, and stuff and things.
Yeah.
Opinions. Don't hate us.
Right.
Opinions. This is the internet.
Yes, indeed. So, I guess, without further ado, shall we just get straight into our lists?
Yeah, I guess that's a smart idea.
Okay.
Should I start?
why don't-
Do you start?
Yeah, kick us off with your number 12 position.
Okay, my number 12 has unfortunately not changed from last week. It's still Jedi from the Highland Houndoms.
Mine is in fact the same. Rather unfortunately. And you know, I don't think Jedi prepared badly.
Yeah.
We should say Jedi, his first game, he did unfortunately take that big 5-0 loss to Ashnakai and the Bristol City Fletchlings. I don't think Jedi prepared badly. I actually think he prepared very well. And we were able to see signs of why he was picking certain things. I think, for example, his Skuntank actually put in a very good performance.
Yeah, I'm a fan of
Showing how well it does at shutting down bulky ghosts, or indeed potentially bulky psychics. Ashnakai brought in Dusclops for this game, for Wheezing, off the bench, and if it hadn't been for the burn that Jedi Skuntank got, it would have absolutely, completely shut down and 1v1'd that Dusclops, which can be just a really annoying thorn in teams' sides. So yeah, I think Jedi prepared well. There were things he wasn't expecting though. Would we say that's fair, Shardy?
Yeah, I'm not a fan of the Scarfed Rodden without Volt Switch. Like, if you have the Scarfed Electro type, it has to have Volt Switch. That's just given.
Yeah.
I think Volt Switch over Thunderbolt would have been better. That's just my personal opinion, but I think it's kind of given. But that's nothing terrible. The only thing that bothered me personally was staying in with Quagsire when it was so important still on the Mega Audino. Mega Audino, of course, you're not expecting new Grass Knot. That's not what I'm saying. But Mega Audino is going to beat Quagsire 9 times out of 10. It can carry Toxic. It can be a more offensive build with, when Dazzling Gleam and Hyper Voice will hurt like a bitch. Because Quagsire has poor special defense. And with Rodon being weakened and being scarfed, meaning it doesn't have all that bulk, Quagsire was really important to take on the Talonflame. And he left it in on the Mega Audino.
Yeah, not Jedi's wisest move, but
Definitely.
These are early days. Jedi has some experience of these kind of draft leagues, and I imagine that's not a mistake he'll be making again in a hurry.
Definitely. He didn't suffer from playing absolutely terribly.
No, not at all.
He played solidly, I think. But it's just that other people played better, and there was no justification in moving him up after getting 5-0. That's all it is, pretty much.
Pretty much, yeah.
So since we agree on that, I guess we can move on to number 11.
Yes.
Which for me is Xenon from the Slovenian Arcanines. Xenon got 5-0 as well. And it was mostly because he could not bring his Meloetta. The issue with that is he knew that he couldn't bring Meloetta, and he brought Keldeo instead. Meloetta was supposed to take on Mega Venusaur. What does Keldeo do? Get absolutely shut down by Mega Venusaur. And he didn't even bring like a Specs HP Flying variant, which I think has a chance to treat KO off the rocks on a physical defensive Mega Venusaur. No, he bought a Scarfed one with Surf, Scald, Secret Sword, and Reflect, which is just an invitation for Mega Venusaur, really. So that kind of bothered me. I kind of like the Among Us with the Ogreberry and Fall Play thing, but it would not have killed Victini anyway, unless he had rocks up, which I don't think he had even. I don't think he had rocks on his team, because he doesn't even have any reliable stealth rockers, except for Crocodile, which he didn't bring. So, yeah, interesting idea, definitely. The creativity is coming through, but it would not have worked against a Victini. It would not have died. It would have done a lot, but
But not
what do you
enough.
do next turn? You sack something. Kind of questionable, in my opinion. And what if Victini would have gone for a psych attack move? Yeah. Xenon just really suffered from not having Meloetta around, and then Mega Venusaur just destroyed him pretty much. Anything you have to add?
Not for that at the moment. Obviously, I've got Xenon in a different position on my list. So I'll get around to, I thought, mostly agreeing with the points that Schady has made, to be honest. The main point, of course, being him suffering from not having Meloetta available for that game would have made, I think, a pretty sizable difference.
Definitely.
Yep. So, my 11th pick, once again, it's a non-mover for me. I've still got CG and the Blastburn Rovers at 11th. Suffered that 2-0 loss to the Twin Leaf Tyrants in one of his first games back to the singles format. Again, I don't think he played badly, really. And we started again to see the positive signs of some of his draft members. Mamoswine, complete with theme music in his video. If you haven't seen that, check it out. It's fantastic. Every time Mamoswine comes in, Space Jam music comes on. It's beautiful.
Fucking gold.
I think he played Mamoswine pretty well. I think he played Hariyama pretty well. That physically defensive Hariyama.
I love that.
I know Charlie's a big fan of that.
Yeah.
Really put in work. Unfortunately, he was unable to save it, and he needed to when you've got a Weavile on the other side of the field.
Yeah.
So he wasn't able to save the Hariyama. He wasn't able to save that when he needed it. But, I think he has shown signs of some really, really clever play, and I don't think he's going to be staying in position 11 for the entire season on this list, put it that way. I see him rising at some point, certainly in the future.
Yeah. And CG is actually my number 10, so I can just smoothly
Oh,
move
yes,
on.
we move straight on to that.
Beautiful. Yeah, I think you said most things. He didn't play terribly at all. He said he played terribly in the beginning, but I don't think he did. He lost his Hariyama way too early when it was his dedicated Weavile counter, which I liked. Physically defensive Hariyama to take on Weavile, genius. Well, genius is a bit much, but very good idea.
Yeah.
But then letting it die and then just Weavile kind of was a big issue.
Yeah.
But like you said, I definitely can see him moving on. He's getting more experience. He's gaining his experience back in the singles format.
Yeah.
And I think that's all I have to say. Just preserve your quote-unquote win conditions. In this case, Hariyama, which is a win condition because it takes on Weavile, yada yada yada. And then you should be fine.
Yep.
Yeah, what he said to me, I'll talk to him after the match. He came back from what would have been like a 5-0 and made it a 2-0, which is kind of true. So yeah, I think that's pretty cool, pretty solid. And also the fucking Typhlosion was interesting. With Lava Plume, not sure I'm a fan, but he also didn't have anything for Aegislash, which is understandable because it's a fucking Aegislash. It's broken.
it's almost like you're not a fan of Aegislash in this format,
I'm
Charlie.
not sure why that comes over like that. Yeah, but Typhlosion is a cool guy, and that's all I have to say.
Alrighty.
Move on to your number 10.
Yeah, in at number 10, I have Sizz and the Awesome
Perfect, it's my number 9.
Excellent. We're doing this very well. Nice and segueing into each other's lists, I think. Sizz came off the back of that 4-0 loss to the very impressive Frito with his Welchions. Sizz, he made a few odd plays, really. He couldn't really have predicted the Shuckerberry on Empoleon. And the thing is, and that's something you do need to prepare for. You do need to prepare for these move not cancelling, but move weakening berries.
Especially if you don't see lefties on Napoleon.
Yeah, exactly. And people will put them on dedicated answers to their opposition's win conditions. Lando could have put in an enormous amount of work for Sizz in that game. Unfortunately, it was isolated early, it was taken out early, and from there it was always going to be a bit of an uphill struggle. I would like to say a massive props for the use of AV Registeel. I'm a huge fan of offensively based Registeels, and I think it was actually used very well. I think he uses AV Registeel very well. It was always a very nice answer to have for Sylveon. And yeah, we'll have to see what Jack is going to do. Jack, of course, has taken over from Sizz for the time being, while Sizz goes through some IRL stuff. We're going to have to see what Jack does with that team, and we'll see if Jack can bring up the or Somerset Sizzles from a relatively low position in the power rankings.
Yeah, we didn't take that into consideration. The coach swap.
The coach swap.
Because he didn't play yet, and we're just gonna, feedback for Sizz is pretty much what we're doing here.
Yeah.
My feedback for Sizz. Oh, Jesus, Sizz, what are you doing?
This is your number 9.
Sizz is my number 9. Okay. Not a well-played game whatsoever. The Empoleon Lander thing, I'm not gonna say anything. That was not a bad play on his part. He just, you're not gonna 100% expect that. He played his Lopunny terribly, and it hurts me because it's my favorite Pokemon. He clicked Fake Out every single time he came in. That's the low-letter thing to do. I think it was 3-4 times he clicked Fake Out, when I think only 1 or maybe 2 times was reasonable.
And it's a very tempting thing to do, but it's not the be-all and end-all.
He should have pre-did with his Lopunny more. He should have clicked High Jump Kick expecting something. He should have clicked Return expecting the Sylveon to come in. And he thought Lopunny would scare out a Sylveon. Why and in which world would it do that?
It's not
It's
gonna
a Sylveon.
happen,
It's
is it?
fat. It will take Return like it's nothing and destroy you with a Hyper Voice and send you to the Shadow Realm. It's just not a thing that happens. Also staying in with Torkoal on the Empoleon, don't do that.
I think that kind of sort of put Sizz on the back foot. He was trying to make those early predictions with the Torkoal, and when they didn't work, he sort of retreated into his shell, as it were, after Torkoal went down, and sort of stopped making those plays.
And then just made worse plays.
Yeah, and that could have been sort of a defining factor on how safe, I suppose we'll say, he played with that Mega Lopunny, just going for Fake Out every time. Not willing to make those big potential sort of Hail Mary plays, which really could have cost him in the end.
The Torkoal misprediction and the Sugarberry Empoleon definitely threw him off.
Yeah.
Good thing, like you said, AV Registeel, I like that because he did have rocks on his Torkoal, which means he doesn't lose anything. Which means he has a really, really solid answer to ye old Sylveon, which, as we know, is a gigantic threat. Sizz is only number 9 because he has a powerful draft still, and I think he can come back. Now it's Jack who has to come back, but still, that's why he's not below anyone else. Because I just think his draft is so much better than the ones of the people below him. Because he has all those powerful threats, Lando, Lopunny, stuff and things. And we move on to your number 9.
My number 9 is going to be Xenon of the Slovenian Arcanines. Of course, you've already been over Xenon, I believe. You have, haven't you? Yes, you have. That 5-0, he had the terrible early luck. I mean, not only in not having his Meloetta available, but he did pick up the receiving end of some very unfortunate hacks
I think the
first early on.
3 turns were all full hacks.
Yeah, I think they were. I believe he missed a Toxic. He got burnt with a Scald, maybe. And then I think he missed another move as well, which put him on the back foot early on. Yeah, it was a Super Fang, it was. It put him on the back foot early on. I actually think he rallied with Dragalge quite well. Dragalge was going to be a decent player for him. Of course, if he had that Trick Room, it would have been even more. But yeah, I mean, when it comes right down to it, he didn't have anything, as you say, for the Mega Venusaur. And yeah, when the Meloetta wasn't available to him, he went to Keldeo. Once you realise that something you have that you know you need is not available to you, you replace it as closely as possible. And Keldeo is not a close replacement. It just isn't. But, Xenon, I imagine it's going to be a surprise to many people to see Xenon so low so early on in
Yeah,
the power
for me as
rankings.
well.
But there's always the thing we can always go back to is this is Xenon,
He's gonna come back from that.
and he will, of course, he will. He has so much experience in so many formats. He will bounce back for this, and I believe now he does have that Meloetta problem sorted. So that is something he can now call on, should he need to.
Definitely, it's something I want to mention as well. I definitely see Xenon moving up for my 11th spot in the
Oh
future
yeah,
because it's Xenon, and he will definitely pull back.
yeah.
And that's it, I think.
Yep, that's it for 9. Who do you have at
My
number
number
8?
8 is Bice from the Twin Leaf Tyrants. I think
Aha, so is mine.
he's fairly low. He's the lowest winner, I think. Um,
Mm. Yeah, he's my number 8 as well. A non-mover for me on my list from
he moved
previously.
actually 3 spots up from me, so
Ah,
I had him 11. And Bice played
mm,
this game very solidly. He's only in 8th because the
mm,
people above him were just slightly better, in my opinion, or I can't
yeah,
move someone like so much down. Um,
yeah,
he played solidly. The end game, he probably could have potentially preserved his differential a bit better,
mm,
but that
yeah,
wasn't terribly, and I think would have been slightly too risky to do that. It kind of reminds me of me in the PPL,
yeah,
not preserving the differential because you're fearing a
yeah.
certain risk which may not even be there. Um,
And especially in the early stages of a league, when it comes right down to it, the wins are
Definitely,
more
yeah,
important than the differential. And say this was week 1. You just want to get yourself off the mark with a win. And you can worry about the differential
yeah,
later.
agreed. I don't have anything. I don't have a lot to say about him. He just played his game very solidly. He
Yeah,
used Weavile well.
and he did, and he answered a few issues we may have had over the selection of Mega Pidgeot, showing that it really is a very good fit for his team.
Yeah,
Um, we talked about that defensive Hariyama, which we liked, but Mega Pidgeot will take it
yeah,
on
he
all day,
had
every day.
bulky Mega Pidgeot, bulky speedy Mega Pidgeot, which is a spread that I like max HP, max speed on
Yeah,
certain things. That's really cool.
yeah,
He had like I think he had Defog, Roost, U-turn, Hurricane, something like that.
something like
Um,
that.
which is pretty cool.
Very nice
I like
set.
that. And
Yep,
it takes on Hariyama pretty well as we saw.
it does.
Decently
It
well.
does.
um,
Yeah.
but shout out to Hariyama for doing half with a heavy slam because it's so fat.
Yes, very much enjoyed
Scarf
seeing
Tyrantrum
that.
was also pretty cool. Um,
Yeah, nice to see that non-Dragon Dance set. Everyone seems it's a very popular set for good reason, but the scarf is not necessarily expected, and it's starting to become what these leagues are about. You have to start trying to expect the
yeah,
unexpected.
uh,
Which
that's pretty much all I have to say. I can also
yeah,
see
I think so.
Bice moving up if he continues to play like he did this week. Because that was
Yeah.
very solid. And it's kind of sad
Mhm.
that he's only in 8th, but what can you do, you know?
Yeah, and when he starts getting into the position where he does need to worry about the differential, he'll have the experience of past games, and I can see him being a real threat when he starts doing that.
Definitely.
Yep.
I completely agree. Moving on to
Yes.
number 7, which for me is Squirtacular from the
Uh-huh.
Kentucky Caglions. Um, he had bad luck.
He did.
He missed the Aqua Tail, which I really liked. He had Aqua Tail, I think Salt Stance, Scolipede. Yeah, I think, yeah. Which I liked for the Gliscor. Because otherwise Gliscor just walls you to hell and back. Aqua Tail did a hell of a lot to that Gliscor. His problem was the combination of Heal Bell, Dragon Dance, Megalataria, and a Azumarill. He had Shaman as his dedicated stop
Yeah,
to Azumarill.
and this is the problem with Shane.
And
I actually have Squirt in the same position as you at 7. Yeah,
oh, perfect.
and that was just the thing that I noticed as well. That Shaman obviously could be an answer to the Azumarill. Isolated. Once again, it's about threats and stops to threats being isolated early on, and that is what Gabe did. Saw that Shaman was a potential stop to the Azumarill, and what did he do? He packed the Heal Bell.
Yeah. So which made Mew not a counter to
Yeah.
Megalataria anymore at all, which I think was Squirt's
Mhm.
dedicated counter, if I recall correctly. And then it's just from there it just kind of went down. He came back with the Scolipede,
Yeah.
but then he missed the Aqua Tail on
Yeah,
his
that was
Cavalier,
unfortunate.
which kind of hurt him a lot.
Mhm.
But he still played a solid game. That's why he's above some people
Yeah.
like Bice, because he was above. He was number 3 initially for me, so I don't see him moving down that much. I still think he's definitely going to come
Oh,
back from this.
absolutely. I mean, he's certainly got the team to do it. He's
Um,
certainly got the ability to do it. He
Definitely.
just came up against a very, very well-prepared team in the form of Week 1 LA
Oh,
Galaxy, you
yeah.
know? Um, and yeah, in that position, sometimes you just take the loss on the chin. But yeah, I mean, the Kentucky Kecleons, I'm sure, will be moving up from 7th. I'm sure they will.
Yeah. Um, I
Yeah.
think that's all I have to say. He wasn't prepared for Megalatoria too
Mm.
well, but that's because it's Megalatoria. Preparing for
Yeah,
this
yeah,
really
you
hard.
don't know what it...
Unless you're Crobat.
Most often with Altaria, you just don't know what it's going to do until it's too late.
Yeah, especially
Yeah,
Hero Dragon
you,
Dance.
you
It's just a
don't
really good set.
expect to see that on the same set, and that was a very much a strength
Not necessarily, yeah.
of Gabriel's team building. But we'll get onto that when we get to Gabriel's position.
Yeah, I think Squid just suffered from having an amazingly prepared
Yes,
opponent.
very much so.
But moving on, I
Yeah,
think, yeah,
to 6th. Who do you have at 6th?
number 6 for me is Enzo from the
Okay.
Whiskers. Enzo got a really convincing 5-0 over Xenon,
Mm.
and he played it fairly well. I don't see any huge mistakes. He went for V-Crate on the Dragalgi, which had a chance to kill. I had a different thought process than him, but I potentially would have clicked V-Crate as well. My thought process was that Xenon would probably expect the Psychic type move on the Dragalgi and go to Scissor. But Enzo just clicked V-Crate, and that's exactly what happened. Scissor came in and just got roasted. He played the end game very safely, which is great to see in his first match.
Yeah.
He preserved his differential
Yeah.
right away. He learned a really important thing. Xenon got kind of annoyed at that, which is understandable. But if you look at it in retro perspective, it's just completely understandable that Enzo kept his Mega Venus to
Words in
take
English
on the
things.
Mega Venus Decaldio. That's exactly, yeah, take on Decaldio. And then he just got a 5-0, very, very solid performance on his part. And if he continues that, he's going to move up as well. Everyone's moving up, apparently. That's
Yeah.
interesting. That's all I have to say. He prepared and played. So he kept the 252 standard dot
Yeah.
spreads for week 1. He said he just wanted to go safely week 1. That's what he did. It worked
Yeah.
out. You know, I definitely want to see some changes there in the standard dot
Yeah.
spreads. I think he will do that. I think that's what he said. So solid game. That's all I have to
Cool.
say.
My number 6 position is going to be Ashton Akai of the Bristol City Fletchlings. A big mover. I initially had them, I think, at 10th. In my initial list. Did I have them at 10th? I think I did, or 9th. Either way, up to 6th for Ashton Akai. Again, a very convincing 5-0. Over Jedi Cardette and the Highland Houndooms. Very good prep. In contrast, I think, to Enzo, who prepared with just those very standard .jpeg sets, Ashton went with a very unexpected set, especially on the form of that Mega Ordino, which Jedi wasn't expecting, which I wasn't expecting, which a lot of people weren't expecting. First week, you think, oh, if he's going to bring his Mega Ordino first week, it's going to be because he wants security of bulk, which is what Mega Ordino does very well. Instead, from nowhere, bam, the Grass Knot, one-shotting the Quagsire from where it was, which allowed his Talonflame to come through. He was also packing Flamethrower just in case of the Sizzle switching, which was excellent to see as well. I forget exactly what other moves he had on there.
I think he has 4 attacking
Yeah.
moves with Dazzling Gleam for the charm
That sounds familiar.
and some other things. It was
It's
just really
very,
solid.
very good to see him do that. Already showing what he can do, answering the critics about some of those mons. Also using Clawitzer very well. He got a bit lucky with it, admittedly, avoiding a crucial charge beam from the Mr. Mine. But he played it very well.
Which got a kill. We gotta mention that.
Yes, we
It
should
got a
say
kill.
that Mr. Mine is
Completely
on
forgot
the
about that.
MVP race with a kill. So I'm enjoying seeing how Mr. Mime does. But I'm also enjoying seeing how Clawitzer does. I picked this out when we were talking about the drafts last week, about how Clawitzer has shown itself to be very good in draft format, despite being a Clawitzer in RU. But 3 KOs in its first game, one of them being a Snorlax, that's not bad. That's not bad at all.
Definitely.
He's played a very good game here, has Ashton, and he has moved moving up the rankings rapidly. He plays like this even more. He's going to continue to do so without a shadow of a doubt.
Agreed, and he's my number 5.
Excellent.
So
lovely
again,
segue
perfect.
in. Right there.
And I don't have a lot to add. You just mentioned pretty much everything. It's just that I didn't like the Talonflame sub play on the Switch. When he could just Brave Bird it and got damage off without getting too much damage off on himself. But that's a minor thing that didn't come into play too much. Talonflame still managed to do its thing. And being a gigantic threat and shit and stuff. Mega Honor, like you said, was a really good idea. If you draft Mega Honor, you gotta have to be creative. Otherwise, it's just kind of there and it's things and it's nothing special. And he used the very wide offensive move pool of Mega Honor well. And if he continues to prepare that well, he's gonna do well. That's all I have to say.
He is.
Moving on to your number 5, I guess.
My number 5 pick is going to be Fredo of the Welchions. Took that 4-0 win over Scizor and his, or Somerset Scizors? Scizor? I just called Scizorsome Scizor, like he's an actual Scizor. Maybe he is. Have you ever seen Scizorsome and a Scizor in the same room at the same time? I don't think anyone has. So, that's just a question for the philosophers, I guess. Back to Fredo and the Welshons, a very impressive performance. He prepped very, very well, knowing before the game, obviously, that Lando I is a huge threat, not only to his team, but to pretty much every team. Lando I, there's a reason it was banned to Ubers with a super majority. And he just had the exact answer to it. In hindsight, is leaving a Landorus I in on any Empoleon a massively good idea? If it survives, it's going to bop you anyway. But what Fredo did was ensure that it would survive, with an absolute guarantee. And he just did that very well. Well, Fredo, he had a very impressive game. I think actually one of the most impressive performances of the week. But I don't want to be moving people up from massive positions. Fredo, I think, I had at 7th early on. Yeah. So I've sort of given him room to prove that he can do that on a week-by-week basis. And if he does, he's going to be a title contender. If he keeps on going with these very intelligent sets, with these very intelligent isolations of threats, he's going to be a huge contender early on.
Yeah, I have him a bit higher. I'm going to say what I have to say later on.
Yeah.
Moving on to number 4, which I think for both of us is Richie from the Live Wurmple FC.
Yes, it is.
He still has a powerful draft, and he choked the game away. First up, he had defensive Assault Vessel Melodic, which I'm not a fan of, honestly.
Yeah. Milotic,
because it's going to take a special hit anyway.
Yeah, and it suffers. I mean, not having recovery on a Milotic is only going to make it suffer.
Definitely. He wasn't too prepared for the Bishop. But if his Melodic had recovered, it would have been taking it on. But he didn't. Then he did not go for T-Bolt on the Starmie with a Scarfed Rotomo, which could have just won the game straight up from that point.
Yeah.
There was nothing Anima could have switched around and gotten fake outs off again and again. But he still would have killed shit, is my point. He would have won that game if he would have just gone for T-Bolt on the Starmie, I'm pretty sure. And if he would have gone for Leaf Storm on the Greninja at the end, he kind of forgot about Protean. It had a good chance to kill a standard Starmie spread, which I think Anima had.
I believe, actually, I thought Anima had a set that would allow her to live a -2 Leaf Storm.
Yeah, but she was already weakened. That's
she was
the thing.
So
I'm not sure how that would have played out. But Leaf Storm probably could have been a better play. Because that would have definitely knocked out the Greninja, which would have made it a 1-0 at least if Starmie would have lived.
I think
Starmie was life orb, if I recall correctly, so it could have been a 0-0 win for Anima.
True.
That would have
been very interesting. First week as 0-0 win, that would have been fantastic. I think what Richie did very well was realise that something he didn't expect to be a threat suddenly was, and started using it as such in the form of his Florges, which was one of his defensive ones. Brought that up, the Skarmory Florges core, which is just disgusting. It is disgusting, but he realised, got to the point where he's realising actually this is a threat to her team, as opposed to just being a wall. Started using it as such, and it did come through for him. It did. So he showed he's able to adapt to these kind of situations, which we knew already. his previous involvement in draft-based leagues or competitions. And as you say, he's still got the team. He's still got that ridiculously powerful team. The fact that
And he
he
still knows how to
was,
play the game.
yeah, and the fact that he was number one in our list and he's dropped down, that doesn't mean he's a horrific player. That just means that he's suffered an early setback and he's just going to need to get right back into it, get back on that horse, and use the power that he's got as well as he can. And he will do that. He will.
Richie, get back on a horse. It's funny 'cause Richie's a horse.
Because he is a horse.
Yeah, Richie's probably going to move up again. He just needs to come back from a week 1 loss after, having all these high expectations for him. But Richie is my boy. He's going to come back. I believe in him. I have him in 4th only because I can't just move someone from number 1 down to like 7th because he lost the game. That's not how this works.
Yeah.
Especially since he could have won a game. Like, it's not like he got destroyed or anything. And that's pretty much all I have to say. I definitely want to see Richie moving up again.
Yeah.
In the near future.
I think so.
Anything else?
Not for me on that. I think we can probably just move straight on to number 3. Do we have the same at number 3?
Nice.
I feel like we do.
I think we do. My number 3 is Anima from the Golden State
Yes,
Dragons.
we do indeed have the same number 3. Anima is my number 3 as well. I mean, we've just talked.
Let me start us off. She brought a hyper offense team against Richie, which it worked, but she kind of overlooked that Richie has defensive mons apparently, which can stop some of her things, and that's not how you play hyper offense.
She wasn't prepared.
That's I mean, Bishop can kill it, but still, she wasn't necessarily prepared. Aromatisse, dual screens, no attacking moves. No, don't do it, please. There's a Mega Morwal. You don't just have a setup for it. The definition of a setup for the Mega Morwal. You don't do that, please, Anima. That was scary. But it worked out. She had Colbur Berry Latios, if I recall correctly. To check the Mega Morwal to some extent, which was cool. I like that. She also had the Sugarberry special defense investment Bishop for the Kyurem. So she definitely adapted well. I'm not a fan of the Aromatisse set. That was just complete setup for her. And she had a threat that Richie overlooked, which is Bishop. Richie had a thing that she overlooked, kind of, which was Florges. She was expecting a more offensive team, which I don't blame her at all.
Yeah.
Look at Richie's team. But that just shows how good Richie's draft is. He can go with a more bulky route if necessary. But Anima played the game well. She could have lost if Richie would have made the right plays at the end. But, she didn't. So I think she deserves to move up by 2 spots because she was prepared.
Yeah, and, Anima obviously is a very good player, and she will know that there were things she could have done better in that game. And she is going to be learning very quickly from them. I know that. I don't see her making those mistakes again, put it that way. Wonder how many more no attacking moves Aromatisses will be seeing from the Golden State Dragons. But yeah, I mean, people were wondering about the Mega Meta Cham selection as well. There are a few sort of raised eyebrows, but Mega Meta Cham put in a huge performance and showed exactly why it was selected. I mean, it's monstrously powerful. I know you're not a fan of ones that aren't either really bulky or really quick, but Mega Meta Cham did what it needed to do. Outsped the Kyurem Black. That's all it needed to do to one-shot it. Anima, as we suggested last week, has moved up, and probably will continue to move up.
Yeah, probably. I think what we're going to do now is your number 2 spot first, because I know our lists, and I think this will go better.
Okay.
So let's go with your number 2 first.
My number 2 spot is Enzo. Enzo of
huge
the
difference for me.
Swiskers. Yes, a very, very huge difference. We have had Enzo in very different positions since the beginning. I liked Enzo's draft when it first happened, and I continue to like what he's doing. A 5-0 is always impressive. A 5-0 over Xenon, very impressive. He's obviously, as we said before, very experienced player, very good player. And he, as Schady said, used his Mega Venusaur very well, preserved his differential extremely well, and it can look like a bit of a sort of unsportsmanlike move to be sort of using Mega Venusaur as he was, but that's just the nature of the beast. You know, he did what he had to do to preserve his differential, and early on, that's why he's going to be towards the top of the table, because he's got that 5-0, he's already got that massive differential, which only one other person has. I mean, the one reservation I did have over Enzo's team, I believe he bought 2 Scarfers, and against Xenon's team, which is very slow. I wonder how wise that was. He didn't need 2 Scarfers. He probably didn't even need 1. Especially if Xenon had been able to bring the team he wanted to. If he'd have brought Trick Room Meloetta against a team with 2 Scarfers, Enzo could have been in real trouble. Real trouble.
Yep. Agreed.
So I question the wisdom of bringing 2 Scarfers against such a slow team. But, you know, he did what he had to do. He had very good cores, and he just played very well. And, as we say, maintained that differential. And that could come in clutch towards the end of the season. It's always nice to get those big results in a draft-based system such as this.
Yeah. Just another thing why I don't have Enzo that high up, which I kind of forgot. He was preparing for a very specific team on Xenon's part. Don't do that. I'd already told him that, but just for the future, don't do that. He brought Toxic Spikes Fortress when Xenon has 2 poison types on his draft, which I think he brought both, and Enzo wasn't expecting any of them. So, you know, that's just something for the future. Don't prepare for specific teams completely and ignore other threats. That's just going to bite you in the ass.
I can tell you from experience, it does bite you.
Yep. Moving on to my number 2, and your number 1, Gabriel from the LA Galaxy Ray.
Yes.
He played a fantastic game against Squirt, and he had the speed creeping EVs. Yes.
Schady is always a fan of the speed creeping. He will always do it to you.
I'm that speed creepy stalker.
The master of speed creeps.
Yeah, he just played well.
Yeah, he had a very, very good game. We've talked about what he did when we spoke about Squirtacular, isolating that Shaman to make sure that he had nothing left to take on Azumarill. I mean, the rest of his team didn't want to take on Azumarill. He had a few things that were weak to it. He had a few things that were a bit too frail to deal with it. And that's why Azumarill, I believe, is leading the MVP race.
I think
four KOs, I think it got. 4 KOs and didn't get KO'd in return. Gabriel prepped incredibly well. He did. He had the right Altaria for the right time. And he saved his winning conditions incredibly well. You know, what else can we say about that game? It was just incredibly well played.
Yeah. And he's definitely deserving of those number 2/number 1 spots.
Yeah, definitely.
But the last one, my number 1, is Freedomion from the Welchians. Fantastically played game.
A huge mover for you, I think.
No, he was number 2.
Was he number 2? He was a huge move for me.
I like his draft. But he just outplayed Sis completely and entirely, and it was almost painful. I watched Sis' perspective first, and it looked like he made too many unnecessary overpredictions. But no, he just made the safe plays. He did not double switches Infernape out. He double switches Infernape in, expecting a Registeel, but then switch out again. But he was not expecting Vaporeon, which came in. He did the calc, and Infernape would not have had a guaranteed Ocon Registeel, which could have done a shitload of Earthquake. Potentially even killed, I'm not sure. So that was a really solid play. He just played very safely. He had the Sugar Berry Empoleon. Which, you know, Empoleon is just an invitation for Landry to come in after something else, you know, U-turns out or whatever.
Yeah.
And he knew that. He had Sugar Berry, and he played the game well. He did not get his 6-0, 6-0 Frito. Didn't get it.
There's always time for that.
But he didn't play unnecessarily. That's what I liked. He just did what he had to do.
Yeah, and the thing about
Mega
also
didn't even come out. I think he had Mega Manectric.
Yeah, I don't think it
didn't see the field.
Thing about Frito, watching his side of the battle, I think you picked up on this in the comment section of his video. having been in draft leagues and played these battles, when I'm playing the battle, I'm on the edge of my seat. I am tense. I am nervous.
Yes.
He was so relaxed. He was just sitting there, just chilling. There was never a moment of panic. I mean, there was possibly, I think, the occasional raised eyebrow and, oh, it's an offensive register. And then he just dealt.
Yeah.
He was so incredibly calm and collected throughout the game, which is just testament to his ability and his temperament, which is why I think he's going to be a fast riser on the lists and on the table.
Yeah, I'm generally a fairly calm player in the league format, but he just sit there like it was a game against a friend with nothing. It's just
Yeah.
just a random battle on Showdown. He just clicked search for a random battle or challenge cup even.
Yeah.
That's how calm he was. Fucking what? How?
Yeah, I mean, and it's excellent
Crazy.
to see.
Yeah.
And that is as good as it is for him. It's also a scary thing for his opponents to go
Yeah.
against someone who is just so calm and collected.
And
he
he
had a
wasn't
plan,
calm.
he stuck with it. Yeah.
He wasn't calm to the point where it's like he doesn't care about the game.
Yes.
He was calm and he knew what he had to do.
Yeah, he had
And that's just
a
impressive.
plan and he stuck to it the entire time.
Kind of reminding of Poke Aim for me personally. That's
Yeah.
a big comparison. Holy shit. But being so calm because you know what you have to do. That's just
Yeah.
big props to Frito, and I can see him keeping that number 1 spot. Definitely.
I can
He has
certainly
a
see him
very
challenging
good draft.
for it. Certainly. see
And
him.
now he has that second wall break on his team. He got Crawdont,
Yeah. That's
on the
going to be
bench.
huge for him. I'm looking forward to seeing what he does with Crawdor.
Yeah, I'm definitely looking forward to what Frito can do
Mm-hmm.
with his team in general. So big props to Frito. Big props to everyone, really. Very solid matches.
Yeah,
Very
great
fun to watch.
first week of matches.
And I think that's going to be it for now.
Yeah, I think so. So yes, that, as we say, is going to be it from this episode of the Power Rankings. Remember, of course, always important to remember, this is entirely sort of our opinions. These lists are what we think. And of course, your opinions may differ. If they do, let us know in the comment section down below. What kind of order would you have put the teams in after the first weeks of battles? And, how do you think these are going to change in the coming weeks? Let us know. It's always important to. And yeah, as we say, that's going to be it. Any final words to add, Schady? Any final nuggets of wisdom?
We probably forgot about a few things, and if that happened, then tell us, because we're bad people. Tell us how terrible we are
Little bit.
and how much we suck. Because that's what analysts have to live with, from the experience from GBA comment sections.
Yeah.
Yeah, it was fun. I'm definitely looking forward to next week. We're gonna be a slight bit more organized next week.
Yes,
I'm gonna
I should
write
think so.
shit
I
down
should think so.
more, so I don't forget about anything that I want to mention. And it's gonna be longer in the future. This is already fairly long, but it's gonna be even longer.
Yeah.
So that's gonna be it. I'm gonna do the outro because I'm the cool guy here.
Well, if you insist. Whatever helps you sleep at night.
So yeah, thank you all for watching, and make sure to leave a like, and like Shroom said, leave your own opinions, your own power rankings in the comments down below. And yeah, see you next week on the power rankings as well as the union news. And we're signing off. Goodbye.
Goodbye.